Alright guys, what is going on? So, what we have here tonight is going to be a losi 5B rear end, and I already started previously working on it, but actually my gimbal died out, so I'm continuing this video here for you guys. So what I did previously, there's two nuts actually on the back of here that hold the to the screws that hold the wing on. The socket that you're going to be using for those nuts are actually going to be a 8mm socket. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that where I left off for you guys. So what you're going to do is turn your Allen head counterclockwise. You never want to turn it clockwise, because if you turn it clockwise, you're actually going to tighten the screw. So you don't want to do that. Obviously you're trying to take the screw out. So another thing I'll always do too, guys, is if you have a screw that you're taking out every time. So let me finish threading this one out here. So as you can see, this looks like a pretty specific screw there. You know, it's not one of the short ones that like go in a chassis. So we definitely want to keep that together. So we're gonna put the 8mm nut back on there so we don't lose it. So the 8mm nut goes back on this screw. Another thing I'll do too is I'll actually line up my screws. Get yourself a microfiber, preferably something brighter so that the screws do not blend in. Blue, green, orange, white, it gets really dirty really easily, so you don't really want to deal with white. But whichever, you know, is bright enough to keep your screws on. So you don't really want to keep them on a black TLR mat like I have over here, because they're going to really blend in. It's going to be really hard to find your screws when you're taking everything apart. So we got that done there. So we're going to come to here as well. And again, you're going to be using the same Allen head. So you're going to put that in there. And actually I've got it balanced here. So I'm just going to take my socket wrench and I'm going to turn it once, twice, usually about 3 or 4 times. We'll take the nut off. So then we can use our hand here if you like. Take that nut off the back side there, so it's going to be right there. Put that to the side for a minute. And you're going to come here with your Allen head here again. You're going to go ahead, put your Allen head in, and again, turn it counterclockwise, guys. If you do not turn it counterclockwise, you'll turn it clockwise, and you will tighten the screw and tighten it and tighten it and tighten it and not realize it, and you will actually be stripping it, because you could actually put the screw way too deep into the thread, and you could be bodying out the screw or blowing out the plastic or the threads, or you could just strip the head of the top of the screw, which you don't want to do either. So you're going to go ahead and do all that. And another reason, I know some guys say you don't have to take off the wing. Another reason why I'm taking off the wing, it's just a really big bulky piece. So when you're doing a rear end differential case, especially, to get out of the way. So it just makes things a little bit easier. It makes things a little bit more, you know, like basically user friendly, if you want to call it that way. So as you can see, I got this screw fully backed out. No issues whatsoever. Threads are still good. I got no issue on the threads. There's no metal shaving, so we know that one's good for sure. So I'm going to go ahead again, take that 8mm nut, screw it onto the screw, that way you don't lose it. Put it to the side with the other one. Now if you come over to here, you're going to notice that this is still really tight on here. So you're going to go ahead, flip it around actually. And you're going to notice a whole bunch of stuff going on in the front of this. But if you know what to take apart in this, it's not that bad. So again, you're going to take this guy right here, same Allen head, and there's 2 actual screws. There's one here and there's one here, and they're in the front of the body post. And what they do is they basically go right into your shock tower, and they screw into the wing brace on this side that holds that whole wing on. So I'm going to go counterclockwise here. And these shouldn't be that tight. Even straight from Losi factory, should not be bad at all. They're usually just fairly snug. If they are over tightened, I mean, you'll definitely know, but for the most part, they're usually not. So, again, it's going to be another one of them screws that you really want to pay attention to, because you can see that's a long one there. So we're going to put that to the side. Same here with this one, same size. Again, you're going counterclockwise, guys, because do not go clockwise, because if you do, you will strip out the thread, and you will strip out your screw possibly. You might bottom out the plastic. Alright, so as you can see here, we got the screw out there. We got the body post here. So what you're going to go ahead and do, just to save yourself the hassle later, you're going to go ahead and take this screw that you just pulled out of the body post. You're going to go and put it back in. You're going to flip this up here. You're going to notice that your wing's off completely now, right? So, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to flip your wing and notice that the bottom two screw holes are the bottom ones that actually go into the rear end diff case. So, where your top ones are up here, you're going to take this body post. And you don't have to screw them in a lot, guys, just very, very lightly. I mean, because you're going to be taking them back out. You're going to screw this body post onto the top of this wing. And the main reason why I do this is honestly so I don't lose parts. So I don't lose screws. So I'm not looking around forever for them. You know, does this go here? Does that go there? You know, stuff like that. And you really just, stuff you don't want to deal with. So we're going to do the same thing with the nut here, because like I said, we just came back to this screw here. So we're actually going to go ahead, pop that guy through. We don't even have to thread it in because it's not going into the rear diff case right now. So we're going to take our 8mm screw right here, or I'm sorry, 8mm nut, and just lightly thread it on, just like that. Come over to the second one. Again, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take this screw and you're just going to push it right through. You don't have to thread it through. By no means. You can thread it a little bit through. Some of them you get away with threading, actually, I should say, and some of them will push through. It all depends, really. So you can see I pushed that one through there. It's going to be the 8mm nut again. Now, the reason why I was able to do all this so quick is because I kept all my parts in order. So I got the body post there with the screws there. I got the screws that go into the wing along with the 8mm nuts. So when I go to reassemble all this back together, I'm going to have no problem finding parts. I'm going to have no problem finding what screws go to the wing. Nothing of the sort. So it's a really good way to do it, guys. I can understand if you're in a rush, maybe if you're in a race, but for when you're doing it on a standalone bench like this, you don't have to rush through and everything, so you're good. So another reason why I said you want to really keep your drive shaft here, because you can actually use it as a balancer. So pretty much you just, when you turn it down, that drive shaft's going to lean against your workbench, and it's going to give you a nice angle here, actually, to where you can work on your rear diff case, and all your parts are going to be exposed. So now these bottom two right here, okay, and this brace that goes across, this is what follows your degree and toe, okay. Now if you notice, there's a little blocker right here. They do make different blocks for your different application, depending on what you're doing, depending on what you're running, if you're bashing, if you're racing. It all really depends what it comes down to. So it basically user preference. Now I run the stock ones. I've had no issues whatsoever, anything at all. So I haven't, touched them or anything. But as far as pulling these off, once you pull these two screws off right here, okay, and you go to take this brace off, underneath here is your two pins. You're going to have a pin that goes in here, and you're going to have a pin that goes in here. Now keep in mind, when you take all this off, when you take all this brace off, you take this degree toe bracket off, you take all that off, your whole rear end is going to fall apart, okay? Your A-arms are going to want to fall. Everything's going to want to happen, okay? Everything's going to feel, you're going to feel like everything's a pain, and it's going to be a lot to deal with. Now I'm going to teach you guys the easiest possible way to do this, okay? So what you're going to do here, this is the easiest way you can do this. Again, you're going to take the same size Allen head screw, or Allen head here. You'll notice that there's actually 2 screws on the bottom of your shock tower, okay? You're going to unloosen those, all right? So you're going to undo those here. There's going to be 2. There's going to be 1 on each side. So you're going to undo this here. You're going to also notice, too, that once you start to do this, that your shock tower is going to start to get really loose. So you're going to take this screw off here. This is another size specific screw. This is not a short one that like goes in the chassis. So you're going to put that one right here on your bright microfiber so you can see it. Same thing to here. You're going to come over to the right hand side. You're going to unscrew it. And again, I know if some people are just chiming in this video, you can use a little 12 volt impact with the right size Allen head, but know that you can strip out them screws very, very easily. Very easily. So just for the sake of being in this video, and I can show you guys a little bit more of a walkthrough, more of everything to do, more of a slower pace instead of you know, going through all the screws and you guys aren't going to know what to do. I figured I could do it by hand for you guys, make things a little bit easier, make things a little bit more so it's easier giving knowledge, you know, than just taking an impact and zipping them out and zipping them out and zipping them out. So I do apologize, I don't know the size of the Allen head off the top of my head, but I do know that it's just this one size here. You would have to look through your manual to double check yourself, but I used to know the size, but mine worn off because I've actually had this a long time. So now, being I took these 2 bottom screws out, right? These 2 right here. Same size. So we're going to put these to the side in our microfiber here. Because, like I said, these are size-specific screws. You do not want the little short chassis screws. Because if you do, they will not fit. These are a different size thread. So we're going to put those to the side. Alright? Now, you're going to notice your whole shock tower now lifts up. Now, this makes things a lot easier to work on because your shocks are still attached, okay? Your shocks, I did not do anything with them. Nothing at all. Your shocks are still completely attached. Your rod links are still attached. I did not take those off. Your tires are still attached. I did not pull those either. So this is the easiest way to do so. So if you guys do this step by step and you do go through the process and do it this way, this is going to be the easiest way to pull your rear diff case when you're off the chassis. Now, when you come to this little guy, this is going to be the smaller Allen head I was telling you guys about before. You're actually going to loosen these 4 screws on the brace that goes from A-arm to A-arm. Okay? This is going to be the stabilizer bar. Many buggies have these, not just our 5IVE-B. Many of the buggies do have the stabilizer bar. Now, I have to stress this to you guys, okay? Do not, and I repeat, do not over tighten these screws, and do not also mess with the center screw. As soon as I finish pulling these screws off here, off these pieces, I will show you exactly what I'm talking about by the center screw, because a lot of people don't understand actually on what they are used for. So I'm actually going to teach you guys here and just give you a little bit more knowledge here. Because like I said, our 5IVE-B buggy is not the only fifth scale out there that uses this kind of stabilization here. So again, you're gonna really definitely, if you do decide to do the 12 volt impact like I told you guys previously, do not do them on these 4 screws. They are very easy to strip out. They will strip out the threads in your differential case very, very easily, and then you're up a creek, because then you have no way to fix it. You would have to tap and rethread and everything else. So right now I've almost got all these guys apart, pretty close. Again though, I want to make sure I have these screws back in the small piece so I don't lose them. Almost got everything apart here. Now I'm going to show you guys what I meant by that center screw, because that center screw you do not want to mess with, and I will show you why. Show you why in 1 second here. So I've just got this screw very, very close. Okay, so now I got all four. Now hopefully you guys can see this, but if you look, and those two screws right there, there's that little tiny screw right in the center there. That's on each piece, okay? There's one on that piece, and if you look here, there's one on that piece as well, okay? These, from factory, are turned in, okay? So, if you have to, put this in statement here, if you have to, and your stabilizer bar is loose, okay, you can tighten in that screw. Now, keep in mind, this is not a screw you're going to wrench down like crazy, because if you do, you will strip it. It's very, very easy to strip this little screw. Very, very easy. So, you turn it very slowly, and what it is that bottom of that screw is going to bottom out on this stabilizer bar here. Now with mine, I'm fine, because that was actually one thing I did readjust to make sure that when it drove, it was good. Mine I had to turn in just a hair, just a tiny, 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 tiny little bit, okay? And it tightened up that stabilizer bar perfect. I had no issues whatsoever. So I know that these are set right, so I'm actually not gonna touch those, okay? So we've got those apart. Usually for small little screws or something that we have in parts, a little small one, get yourself a little small container and then just put them in there like that. Real simple. That way you know you're not going to lose them. They're going to be there for when you need them. They're going to be in the part, and you're not going to have to find them all day looking everywhere for them. So now let's go on a little bit of a rundown here for you guys, what we've done so far. So, what have we done so far? We have taken out the 4 screws, 2 on each side, to the stabilizer bar. The stabilizer bar is free, okay? That's the first. One of the other things that we did, we took out these bottom 2 screws right here. These very 2 on the bottom. And what that did is that lifted up your whole shock tower from the diff case, okay? That was the other thing we did. That was good as well. The other thing that we did, from these 4 holes right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, we took out the wing. Remember, we took out the 2 screws here for the body post. We took out the 2 8mm nuts, and we also took out the 2 screws that threaded in through here, through the back, that went into the 8mm nuts. Keep in mind, this is all together. We don't have to worry about trying to find the right screw or the right nut or anything that doesn't go together, something that doesn't build right, something that's not threading in right. So when you guys come back to this to reassemble, because we all have jobs, let's say you get called into work or something, and something's busy. Well, then this has to sit here, right? If you come back to it and you don't remember, hey, what screw did I put in here? I'm not sure. No, maybe it's this one. No, that one doesn't fit. Oh, let's try the next one. No, that one doesn't fit either. You don't have to do any of that, because you have all your screws. Your 8mm nuts are on your screws, and you're set. You're good to go. So when you do come back to your build, it's all right here. It's already done. You don't have to worry about trying to run around and find anything. So, I'm going to put that to the side for now. So, continuing onward, obviously the things that we still have together are the shocks. I haven't touched the shocks. They're still together. Got the rod links together. They're still here, as well as the axles. Now, we're going to be pulling out the axles and everything anyways, so that's no big deal. Now, another thing. These pins in here, depending on how hard you drive your buggy, or even your 5T, you can do this on your 5T as well. Always, you have them out. You'll have them out, okay? 2 things. 1, always make sure they're straight. Okay? Take your pin and put it up against each other like this. And if one is curved, it's bent. It's no good. Kraken does make titanium pins for our losi 5B and 5Ts. They are very good quality, but I have had no problems yet with the stock losis. And I've bashed, I've ran my buggies pretty hard. I've ran my 5T pretty hard, and I've had no problem with the pins whatsoever yet. So, but if you feel like you want to upgrade to those, and you feel like maybe it's a good upgrade, you don't have to do it down the road, and you have everything apart right now, that's perfectly understandable. There's no problem at all doing that. DDM is a great company out there. Dave's Discount Motors. They carry those pins, and I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say they're maybe about $30 or $40 for the pair. Not 100% sure though, so don't quote me on that, guys. So, next thing you're going to do is take the same Allen head T-handle you're using before, and you're going to balance this up a little bit. And there's 2 screws right here and here, there and there, and you're going to take this guy, and you're actually going to take these screws out. Now, sometimes, guys, not all the time, but sometimes these threads really get rusted on the inside, being that, if water kicks up, or if, like, you ran your buggy through, like, a little, not pond, but, like, a little, like, puddle or something like that. So the threads will get rusted up. And I'm actually kind of thankful here, because this is the first time I'm pulling this rear diff, and I got pretty lucky. It seems like these threads are coming out pretty simple. So they're backing out pretty easy for me. But these are 2 other screws that you want to make sure that you put back in the part, because these are size specific screws and you can't use any other screws. And let me show you why. Now if you look at this guy, that is a really long screw. Okay? Now the threads are actually not the whole screw. If my phone will focus so you guys can see. There we go. So it's just the bottom end of those threads, right? So that's going to be the first one. Okay? Second one, same way. And don't try, if it doesn't come out, don't use an impact, okay? This is something you can basically screw up very, very easily, and it's going to make your life horrible, because you're not going to have an easy way at all to get out a strip screw, with especially being this brace, without messing up the brace, without putting a cut in the brace or anything like that. So if you can, and you're working on a bench like I am, and you can use a T-handle, especially for this part, I would highly advise to do so, because this is one that you do not want to strip, because then you'll mess up your brace. You could mess up how tight the brace goes against the toe bracket, everything like that, and it all comes down to that. So you really, really want to take your time here. So got that one just about loose. And usually what I'll do too is I'll wiggle them back and forth, side to side, like left and right, just enough, and it'll usually pull straight out. So we've come to, it's another thing good to do too, always inspect the threads. Make sure that the threads don't have any leftover metal on them, especially if you bought a used buggy, because you have no idea how the prior person either worked on it or wrenched on it or bashed on it or raced it, anything like that. So you don't know how it was treated otherwise. So, but they look pretty good. They're not rusted up. It's another good thing. So we're going to put those to the side, and you're just going to take this bracket here. It's going to pull it straight off. Now, if you go and look here on this one, actually, I guess the buggy doesn't have a toe mount, which I thought it did. I apologize to you guys. My 5T does, but I did not believe the 5B does. It's just a solid bracket, solid brace, which is definitely solid. So we're going to actually take these 2 screws. I'm just going to pop them right through here, just like that. So again, that's another piece that we have where we won't be looking for the screws, looking for the nuts, anything like that. So we're going to set that to the side. Now, keep in mind here what we got again. So we've got the pins still here. One here, one here. So your 2 A-arm pins. Now, again, you're using the same Allen head. That's one thing that's nice about losi. If you don't have mix match screws, and for something that was maybe taken care of or something not wrenched on a lot, and people just didn't throw this screw here and that screw here and this screw here and that screw there, you'll use this T-handle and you'll use this T-handle. And that's the nicest thing because it's really easy to work on. It's not going to give you a hassle. But, like I said, guys, that's also if you got a buggy that is either brand new, you're the only owner, or if you know you got the used buggy from someone who's very knowledgeable, that takes care of their stuff, that doesn't just throw a screw in here, throw a screw in there. But, so what you're going to do next is, let me show you this other two. Show you actually the billet diff, so I can show you the screws up close here. So if you look here, there's two screws at the top. There's one here and there's one here. Your shock tower is what sits above right here, okay? And it goes down to here. That's where your shock tower sits. Now, you're actually going to take out these two screws and this screw here. And once you do, your whole diff is going to come apart, all right? Now, keep in mind, I have not done this rear diff yet. So, I do not know the shape of the rear diff is going to be in. Hopefully, it's not too bad. But if it is, I plan on seeing it like this. This is one that I took apart from a 5T before. So if you look there, you can see how badly rusted that was, caked in rust. This is obviously somebody that did not take care of their rear diff, that did not do the right fluid, or maybe didn't do any fluid. So it's always, yeah, see, I even wrote here on the bottom, it says rear diff out of losi 5T. So hopefully it's not that bad, but let's see what we're going to get in here for you guys. So again, we're coming to the same size Allen head. Really nice. So we're going to unscrew that one. And I'm crossing my fingers here and hoping that it's not really rusted. If it is, I'll have to go through, clean it all. I plan on swapping out the fluid anyways and everything, so I definitely have to do that. But as far as, you know, cleaning everything out, you have to go through, clean the bearing and everything. So I'll walk you guys through that even more. But these are going to be other size specific screws. These are long ones as well. These are ones that you have to have the exact size. Now, I have had some guys say to me once before, why can't I use a shorter screw? Why can't I just use one that I got left over from my kit? Or why do I have one that, you know, it looks like it fits and it threads in? Why can't I use that? Because the long thread of this screw tightens fully into that differential. So that way, when you mount it on your chassis, it is fully closed together. Now, if you go and look at this billet diff. You can see right there is no space in that. Same with this. There is no space in that at all. So you want to really make sure that you use the screws that either came with your billet differential, or that if you're even putting in your stock one back, make sure you use the same exact screws. And make sure that they are the ones that are supposed to go in there. If they use a wrong style thread or a wrong style head of a screw, you can either crack the differential casing, you can strip out where the screw is supposed to sit, and it'll actually basically burn in the plastic, and you go to thread it in and you'll see the plastic shavings start to come out. That's another thing you don't want to do. So these are another size specific screw. So we're going to put that one to the side as well. Again, same Allen head here, guys. So I'm going to go, again, one quick turn right there. Like I said, these shouldn't be that tight. If they are that tight, do not use the 12-volt in-back, because if you do, these are another one that are very easily to strip out. So I always use a T-handle on these ones, especially. So you back them out fully. Again, if you look here, that's another long screw there. So these two, I know, they go in the diff case. So we're going to go ahead and hold on to those two, put them on the side. Now, if you go and look here, see if I can bring this to you guys here. If you look here, all the screws are now out. So we've got the 4 screws that are holding the stabilizer bar out, the pins that are out from the bottom, the shock tower is up here in my hand, and the 2 screws up top are fully out. So now what you're able to do is you can actually try and balance your diff case as much as possible, and you can, once you pull out those top 2 screws, you can pull off your differential case. Now, let's hope that this is not very, very rusted inside, because I really don't feel like cleaning out a whole nother case, because it is a big job, guys. So let's go ahead and pull this apart, see what we got. Hey, look at that. We got lucky on this one, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead here, and I'm actually going to pull the pin now. There's a reason why I'm pulling the pin. So you don't need nothing special. You can use a pair of vice grips. I just use a pair of locking pliers. And what you can do now is you'll basically, these are locking, so you're going to want to unlock them, obviously, if it ever wants to. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. So you'll lock them here. You usually just go left to right. These might not want to lock though, because they are kind of old. Yeah, these ones are kind of old. So I'm just going to use a regular pair of pliers instead. I got to grease those other ones, guys. I haven't had the time to really do them. So you don't even have to pull it out fully, just enough to where that axle is going to slide out of the rear diff. And same thing from here. So now, if you look here, your whole rear diff is off. Everything's apart. It's all up in the air. And you know a nice thing? Your shocks are still together. You didn't have to pull the shocks apart. Your A-arms are still together with your shocks. Your axles are still on your A-arms. You didn't have to pull any of that. So now, your rear diff is off. There's your rear differential. That's what the inside of your rear diff looks like. Your drive shaft is still connected. Your brace is still here. So that saves you a lot of time, guys. But before we forget, what's one thing I told you guys? Now, even though I'm not using this casing, I am swapping out to a billet aluminum team Hoonage. Doesn't hurt to have extra parts, right? So we're going to take these 2 screws,